Hello and welcome to another episode of Scroodle Doodles. Today I'm going to do something I've never done before. I've got, where is it? Oh my goodness. In this box I've got whatever, I'll just show you. It's an 8-inch shadow box. So I just got kind of the cheapest one that I could find. I think it doesn't even have real glass. I think that'll just be plastic in there. And it might already have a scratch on it. But this is just so we can see what the art we're creating will look like in a shadow box. You can make your own shadow box. You can order your own one. Whatever you want to do. Okay, let's get started. Today, this is going to be a mixture of craft and drawing. I was just going through different cartoons and I thought the Jetsons might be a really fun one to do. What we're going to do is very different because I'm going to be drawing part of it, but also what I like doing is mixing in crafty things. So I've got a laminator with some clear laminating sheets, and we're going to use the laminating sheets, which you can use anything from like a clear plastic package that maybe is from like fruits or vegetables or something you bought with your groceries. You can cut it out of that. But what I'm going to try with my laminator is doing the windshield of the Jetsons car with this. So you'll see how we get there, but I've never done this before. This is just figuring it out as we go along. So jumping right into it, I think what I'm going to do is, even though this one shows that the windshield slants back, in the original cartoon, it's mixed. So usually you have the green one. In some episodes, there's like a purpley red one. Some cartoons, because they're inconsistent, they would have it slanted like this, and other ones it's just a perfect bubble. So I think we're going to lean towards more the perfect circular bubble, but we're not going to be using that in the drawing. So what I will do first, just to get a size, because our shadow box is this size, is I'm just going to do a nice big circle. It doesn't have to be a perfect circle. And if you want to follow along and do the same sort of thing, go ahead, and you feel free to pause it whenever you want to pause it. But so say there's our circle. What it does is it comes down, and I'm not going to be doing a lot of drawing of the windshield or the bubble, like I said, because I want to use that laminating sheet. And then what we have is a disc. You see the disc here. Disc comes across. Now this is not going to be a perfect drawing. And I'm going to probably go pretty close to the edge with the fin here, but it's fine because I'm going to be cutting this all out anyway. And this disc goes around. So it's kind of like Saturn. You've got Saturn's rings going around the planet. So in this case, you've got the bubble. Now the bubble, interestingly, is a little bit flatter than a perfect circle. So where you'd come all the way down here, you don't actually come down that far. You kind of go. Just a happy little smile. I think what I want to do next is the I think they're like little propulsion things that hang down underneath. So we'll put one around the middle here. Oh, actually, this comes across like this. I will do finer detail with the marker. Okay, so we're coming across. I'm trying to do this kind of as quick as I can. And I'm not even going to try and make them perfectly 3D correct. It's an old cartoon. It was all hand drawn. And I want it to have that character. So there we've got kind of the main piece of the craft. And I also chose this because it's a relatively easy drawing. It's a relatively easy ship to draw. So the fin actually comes up the bubble. And in this case, you see here, this one, they had it slant out. But in the cartoon, it actually goes kind of straight up the back of the bubble and then out. So I'm going to go straight up the bubble here and then basically straight out almost to the edge of the page here. If you want to do it a bit smaller, or you have a bigger piece of paper, like I said, this is 8 by 8. So if you have a bigger piece of paper, that's great. You have more space, kind of do whatever you want. And then it looks like the fin kind of swoops down into the disc here. Okay, so there's our main shape of the Jetsons craft. Pretty easy. So this gives me an idea of how big. I'm just going to do George, by the way, George Jetson. I'm not going to do the whole family. Family. So for George, he's relatively simple. His body is just kind of the shape of a beaker. It's just kind of like this. And then you've got a V here on the left half. And then you kind of go out. And he's got this sweet collar. Now, and then this is like a triangle. So he's got this collar. Actually, it kind of comes down. I'm drawing this way too hard with the pencil, but it's fine. His head comes off the opposite direction. So if his body's kind of like this, his head kind of comes off the opposite direction. And about halfway up his head, so this side we can go all the way up, whoop, go up to his head. But about halfway up his head, it dips in and then straightens out. And you're going to be like, what the? He's drawing Olaf. But just stick with me here. You got his lip. Goes into a smile here. Whoop. And his bottom lip goes under here. It still kind of looks like Olaf, but anyway. So we go up here like this, and then he's got this kind of 5 o'clock shadow, goes around, doot, 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 and comes to the point where it meets, right? But his nose is there. So his nose comes out and goes just past this line. So here, curves up, and then comes straight back in. From that point, we've got 2 eyes. And I might move this up a little bit, give him some more space, but and he's a dad, so he's got a little bit of a bag under his eye here. It's that classic Hanna-Barbera Flintstones art style. Now his hair, it comes down beside, and then an ear pops out. So kind of where this line from the 5 o'clock shadow comes down. He's got this ear that comes out and then goes in. And then his hair comes off the back of his ear, comes up to that back point of his head. Comes across. And then he's got like a little woo. We can connect the mouth there, put a tongue in there. Now we can start adding some elements. So, for example, I'm going to have his arm come out here. His arm is very just like rectangular pieces. So it comes out, another rectangle here. I'm going to have him driving the ship, the car, the flying car. I'm not the greatest at drawing hands, so I'll do a mitten first and then I break it into fingers. Now I think I'm ready. I've got my ship, or I've got my flying car. I've got George. And so I think I have the 2 pieces that I'm going to cut out ready to do some outlining and coloring. And then we will come back with the bubble and put it all into the shadow box and see how it all looks. And I'm super excited to see how it all comes together. anything outside of the ship, I actually don't have to worry about erasing because I'm cutting this out. And because I'm cutting it out, there are a few tricks that I have in mind to create a bit of an illusion with the background. So. See, as I cut it out, there might be little pieces of white, but then what I can do is touch that up with a black marker after. Also, these scissors are pretty big, so if you have smaller scissors and you want to use those, that's probably helpful. You could also, if you have like an art board for cutting, you could use like those art knives and cut it out and probably get a finer result than just hacking away at it with scissors. And I do have those knives, but I just didn't think ahead. And now here's the trick. You can either color a piece of paper or you can leave the background white, but I have this blue construction paper that I'm going to use for the sky in the background. So if I find a color that's similar, so I have my swatches for my markers, these are the Ohuhu markers, I can find a color that's similar. So like this light sea blue is very similar. So what I'll actually do is these pieces that I didn't want to cut out those tiny little bits, I will color them in light sea blue. Boom! Oh, magic. Cool. Okay, so same thing here. Nice, that's pretty good. Okay, so now we have our two pieces. We've got the ship, we've got the car, and we've got George. And then we've got the background here. So what we're actually gonna do is have this floating off the background. He's gonna be laminated in a clear bubble, right? Sweet. And then we're gonna cut that out in 8x8 square to fit in the shadow box. And it'll look like he's flying through the air. Now the key is to not screw this up. I'm not telling that to you, I'm telling that to me. Yes, cool. George is just floating there. Okay, this is super fun. Okay, I'm gonna let that dry for a few minutes and see how that turns out. Okay. Other than my smudgy, greasy fingers, I think that looks pretty cool. I have these foam squares that I got off Amazon that I can use to raise this up from the background in the shadow box. I haven't used these a lot, I'm just kind of messing with them. You can use layers of cardboard and just glue them together or tape them together. You don't have to go crazy and be ordering tons and tons of stuff all the time. So I've got my paper cutter that you can just measure it and cut it. If you have a paper cutter, that's great. Now I noticed in the show, they've got these swirly whirly waves of clouds. So I'm just gonna do one. And I'm using the cutoffs. That's fun. Okay, so now we can put it in the shadow box and see how that looks. There goes nothing. Yes! That is so cool. I gotta put it on the wall. Well, thanks so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned a little bit and enjoyed watching me struggle through a little bit of a learning curve with this thing, but I think it turned out all right. See you on the next one.